movie Sophie's Choice focuses on the main character, Sophie, who is displaced from her home country of Poland post-World War II and comes to America, where she meets Stingo, a writer who narrates her story, and we kind of learn throughout the movie more about her experiences pre-war as a daughter, a wife, and eventually we learn that she was also a mother as well. And we learn more about her harrowing experiences of being separated from her family and being put into a concentration camp in Auschwitz. So in this film analysis, we will be discussing the ethical dilemmas that that Sophie faces and or faced, and the choices that she made throughout this film in relation to the Kantian theory of moral duty and the categorical imperatives of goodwill. On one hand, the Kantian theory does emphasize the importance of intention and having good intention. And while Sophie's intentions are not clearly bad, they're actually good as a mother, a friend, a partner, a person. But the question remains as to whether Sophie's choices were the correct ethical acts in accordance to the categorical imperatives of goodwill. To Kantian's theory of moral duty and the categorical imperatives of goodwill, Sophie's decisions and her choices go against the categorical imperatives of goodwill. Therefore, her choices are not ethical, and I will explain why. So the Kantian theory explains the importance of moral duty, but it goes on to explain the categorical imperatives of goodwill and the formulations of that, which include the formula of universal law and the formula of humanity. The formula of universal law basically explains that in order for something to be morally okay or in accordance with goodwill, an act must be in accordance with a maxim that can be applied universally. If and only if this maxim can be applied universally. That is, that if you do something, everyone else should be able to do that thing in order for it to be morally acceptable, in accordance with moral duty or goodwill. Formula of humanity states that one must only act, whether it is in yourself or in others, as an end result rather than a means of something. Therefore, in order to ethically act upon something, your intentions matter, and your actions should directly lead to an end result that was your motive, or act in accordance with moral duty rather than self-serving, like boasting your image, etc. There were a few choices that Sophie made throughout the movie that led me to kind of base this thesis that her actions and choices were not in accordance with the categorical imperatives of goodwill according to Kantian's theory of moral duty, and these were the choices that led me to this thesis. Sophie lies about her story and her partiality in the war. Despite whatever the reason or the intention may be, she lies about the means that she took throughout the movie that were actually self-serving and not heroic. Her family and her were not heroic in the war as she tried to paint the picture of. And this also leads me to another choice that Sophie made as her and her children arrive in Auschwitz, and a Nazi soldier told her to choose between her children. And at first she was not able to choose, and then she was forced to, so she chose her son over her daughter. In the end, they both died, and these were their last moments together, which were all around more damaging to Sophie and the memory of her deceased children. The next choice that I will be discussing is Sophie's choice to kill herself in the end. And this too is an act against moral duty and the categorical imperatives of goodwill, no matter what the intentions of any of these choices were, or her position or situation and dilemma. All of these acts and choices go against the categorical imperatives of the one qualified good, which is goodwill. Regarding the formula of humanity, Sophie failed to act so that those she lied to, like Stingo, and her children and herself in the end, were treated with moral duty as an end goal of her moral duty rather than a Stingo as a means to escape her own past. And she, in a split moment, chose her son over her daughter as a means to save one of them, when in the end they both died, and this decision was overall more damaging to her in the end. And in the final end of all of the choices that she made, she commits suicide as a means to escape the guilt, rather than living with that guilt and trying to find mends with herself or peace with life again, or begin to heal, which objectively would be her moral duty to try and do so for herself and the people who love her, like Stingo, and to kind of carry on the memory of her children, especially as she is the only survivor. So basically, these were all of the ways that she did not act in accordance to the formula of humanity. And in terms of the formula of universal law, none of these choices could be applicable to all people, or universally, as none of these choices act in goodwill or moral duty, so to say, such as lying or choosing one child over another, or in the end killing herself. That being said, Sophie's choices are morally wrong in accordance to Kantian's theory of moral duty and the categorical imperatives of goodwill. Though, because of her good intentions and her difficult position and situation that is unimaginable to us, this theory could be considered too strong to apply in the scenario of Sophie's ethical dilemma that she faces.